The first thing I saw when I walked into the gala wasn't my husband. It wasn't the board members we were supposed to impress, or the sponsors who'd flown in from across the country. It was the diamond necklace around Harper's throat. My mother's necklace. The room tilted. My chest tightened. That necklace was supposed to be safe in my jewelry box, tucked away where no one but me touched it. And there she was, Nathan's mistress, parading it like a trophy in front of 100 people. I froze mid-step, every whisper cutting into me like glass. "Isn't that Isabella's?" Oh God, he gave it to her? Wait, I thought Harper was married. Isn't her husband a surgeon? My ears rang. My world narrowed to Harper's smug little smile as she adjusted the chain so it caught the light. She wanted me to see it. She wanted everyone to see it. And Nathan, my husband, my partner of 10 years, sat beside her like she belonged there, his hand resting casually on her leg. He didn't even flinch when our eyes locked. He just smirked, like I was the fool in this equation. I walked straight to them, every step powered by rage. "Where did you get that necklace?" My voice was sharp, loud enough for the nearest tables to hear. Harper's fingers brushed the pendant like she'd earned it. "Nathan gave it to me," she said sweetly, almost daring me to explode. The laughter, the conversations, the music, everything around us seemed to vanish. All I could hear was the rush of blood in my ears. My mother wore that necklace the night before she died. It was the last piece of her I had left. And now it was dangling off the woman who'd been sharing my husband's bed. I turned to Nathan. "You stole from me. From my family." He waved a hand like I was overreacting. "It was collecting dust, Isabella. Don't make a scene." The words detonated inside me. Don't make a scene, as if he hadn't already turned me into one. Harper leaned back in her chair, her smile widening. Maybe he just wanted someone who actually appreciates it. The audacity of it, the confidence. She was married too. Everyone in this city knew her husband was a respected doctor. And here she was, throwing daggers in public like she had nothing to lose. My palm moved before my brain caught up. The slap cracked across her cheek, sharp enough to silence the entire room. Gasps rippled, phones shot up, and Harper's smugness evaporated in an instant. Nathan shot to his feet, his voice low and furious. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I stared him down, my chest heaving. "What's wrong with me? You humiliate me in front of everyone we know. You hand over my mother's necklace to your mistress, and I'm supposed to sit here and smile?" Silence stretched. Cameras recorded. Some people hid their laughter behind their hands. Others just stared, wide-eyed, eating up every second. I leaned closer to Harper, my words dripping with venom. "Keep it. You'll need something to pawn when this falls apart." Her face twisted, fury replacing arrogance. I didn't wait for Nathan's excuses. I didn't wait for pitying looks. I turned on my heel and walked out, every step fueled by something stronger than heartbreak. Outside, the air was sharp against my skin, but my hands were steady now. Nathan thought he'd broken me. Harper thought she'd replaced me. They had no idea what they'd just unleashed. I swore to myself that night I wouldn't cry into pillows or beg for explanations. I'd strip him of everything he valued, his money, his reputation, his carefully crafted image. And when Harper's perfect little world shattered, I'd make sure she knew exactly who swung the hammer, because humiliation wasn't the end of me. It was the beginning of their downfall. When Nathan and I first got married, I thought I'd won the lottery. He was charming, ambitious, the kind of man who could walk into any room and make everyone lean closer. I gave up a promising career in corporate PR to help him chase his dream of building a company. At the time, it felt like partnership. I told myself we were building a future together, even when that meant I shouldered the bills, the childcare, and the endless hours of waiting for him to come home. I invested my inheritance into his business, every dollar my mother left me. She had worked her whole life as a teacher, pinching pennies, leaving me something to feel safe with. I signed the checks because Nathan swore, "Once this takes off, we'll never worry again." I believed him. Belief was my mistake. our daughter Mia was born 2 years later. I raised her while Nathan expanded the company. I learned how to soothe colic, how to read bedtime stories with one eye open from exhaustion, how to hold her hand at doctor visits alone while Nathan was off networking. Every milestone was mine to witness and his to hear about in passing. Still, I defended him to everyone. He's working for us, I'd say. It'll be worth it. Looking back, the warning signs weren't subtle. Late nights at the office that turned into weekends, business trips that didn't line up with receipts I found in his pockets, text messages from colleagues that were just a little too personal. When I confronted him, he'd turn it back on me, call me paranoid, insecure, ungrateful. And I'd swallow my instincts because I was terrified of rocking the foundation I'd built my entire life on. The necklace was the final straw, but the cracks had been forming for years. I should have seen it when he canceled our 10th anniversary dinner, claiming he was too swamped, only for a photo to surface online the next morning. Nathan smiling with Harper at a so-called charity event. I should have seen it when his phone was suddenly glued to his hand, face down whenever I walked into the room. But the moment the truth became undeniable, didn't come from me. It came from Mia. One afternoon, she came home from school and casually mentioned it while coloring at the kitchen table. "Mommy, I saw Daddy eating lunch with a pretty lady. She had shiny hair and laughed a lot. He bought her flowers after." I remember gripping the counter until my knuckles turned white. I wanted to scream, to cry, to rage at the ceiling. But I just forced a smile and told her not to worry about it, because she didn't deserve to carry the weight of what her father was doing. That night, when Nathan came home smelling of cologne I didn't own, I knew. The lies weren't shadows anymore. They were standing in my kitchen, bold and smirking. And still, some part of me wanted to deny it, to convince myself I could fix it if I just tried harder. But when I saw Harper flaunting my mother's necklace at the gala, when I heard Mia's innocent little voice describing that pretty lady, denial died. It was over. Nathan hadn't just betrayed me. He had betrayed the family I built around him, the sacrifices I made, the trust I handed over like a gift. He took everything I gave and used it to carve out a life with someone else. And now, the stakes weren't just my broken heart. They were financial, legal, maternal. He thought he could humiliate me and still keep control. He thought wrong. The morning after the gala, I stared at myself in the bathroom mirror and barely recognized the woman looking back. Mascara stains under my eyes, lips cracked, hair limp. I had spent years making myself small for Nathan, convincing myself my sacrifices were noble. But standing there, replaying Harper's smug face with my mother's necklace around her throat, I felt something shift. The grief hardened. The humiliation burned away. What was left was cold, sharp, and alive. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to scream or cry or plead for answers. I was going to make him pay. The first step was money. Nathan thought I was just a housewife with no sense of finances, but he forgot who had written the checks in the beginning. Every contract, every bank transfer, every investor pitch. I'd been there, helping him. I still had access. That morning, I logged into our accounts and froze what I could. Joint cards, company credit lines tied to my name, even the household account he used for day-to-day spending. In less than an hour, I cut off half his lifelines. Next came the lawyer. I called the one friend I knew would drop everything for me. Marissa, who had once represented a client's wife in a brutal divorce. "I need someone ruthless," I told her, my voice steady even though my hands shook. "Someone who doesn't care about keeping things civil." By lunchtime, I had an appointment scheduled. Then I started packing. Not because I was leaving, but because I wanted him to know I could. I boxed up my most valuable things: Mia's baby albums, the heirlooms he hadn't stolen, important documents. Each item I pulled from the shelves reminded me of what I had carried alone while he was out chasing Harper. I stacked the boxes neatly by the door, a visible warning shot. This house, this life, could disappear with me whenever I chose. By evening, word was already trickling back. Nathan tried to use his card at a hotel bar. Declined. He called me twice, then 3 times, then left a voicemail laced with anger. What the hell did you do? This isn't funny, Isabella. Funny. That was the word he used, as if my life was some joke for him to play with. I ignored the calls and kept moving. I started making lists, assets in my name, accounts he thought I'd forgotten about, documents I could use as leverage. The more I wrote, the calmer I became. Every line on that paper was a weapon, and I was finally remembering how to fight. When Mia went to bed, I sat alone in the quiet house and felt the first flicker of control return. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for Nathan to come home, wasn't hoping for scraps of attention or affection. I was the one setting the pace now. The phone lit up again. Nathan's name. I let it ring out, then listened to his latest voicemail. This time, his voice wasn't angry. It was panicked. Isabella, please, just pick up. Let's talk. Don't do anything stupid. You don't understand how this could affect the company. I laughed out loud, the sound startling even me. He still thought this was about protecting his company, his reputation. He hadn't realized yet that I didn't care about saving him. I cared about destroying him. I deleted the voicemail, closed my notebook of plans, and poured myself a glass of wine. Tomorrow, I'd meet with the lawyer. Tomorrow, the real war would begin. For now, it was enough to know one thing. The man who once believed he controlled everything had just felt the ground shift under his feet, and I was the one pulling it out from under him. By the end of the week, Nathan's carefully polished life began to unravel. It started small, like a thread pulled loose from a suit. His favorite restaurant declined his card. His assistant couldn't book his flight to Dallas. His company accountant left 3 frantic voicemails asking why certain accounts had been frozen. I didn't pick up. I wanted him to feel the silence, to sit in the discomfort of not knowing how much I controlled. By Friday morning, his calls turned relentless. At first, anger. Isabella, you've lost your mind. You can't just do this. Then bargaining. Let's sit down, talk this out. You don't have to go nuclear. Finally, panic. You're hurting yourself too, don't you get that? What he didn't understand was that the old version of me, the one afraid of his disapproval, the one who clung to the illusion of marriage, was gone. I wasn't hurting myself. I was freeing myself. The social circle caught wind fast. In Memphis, business isn't just deals and contracts. It's whispers over cocktails. It's reputation traded like currency. By Saturday, the whispers had turned into open talk. A friend texted me screenshots of a group chat, women laughing about Nathan's side piece getting the wife's jewels. Some pitied me, others admired me for slapping Harper. The sympathy wasn't what I wanted. But the attention? That was useful. At church on Sunday, one of the older women, Mrs. Cartwright, leaned close to me after service. Don't you let him crawl back, honey. Men like him only learn when they lose. Her grip on my hand was strong, her eyes fierce. Support was stacking up in places Nathan never expected. Meanwhile, Harper wasn't handling the fallout well. Her perfect facade had cracks. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that her husband, Dr. Mitchell, had confronted her after the gala. He wanted to know why half the city saw her draped in another man's arms, wearing a necklace that didn't belong to her. She told him it was just business. But doctors don't like being humiliated. I knew it was only a matter of time before that marriage collapsed, too. Nathan tried to regain control by showing up at the house unannounced on Monday evening. Mia was upstairs finishing homework when I heard the pounding on the door. I opened it just enough to see his face. Flushed, jaw tight, eyes frantic. He tried to push inside, but I blocked the doorway. Isabella, stop this nonsense, he snapped. You're making us both look ridiculous. Do you realize what people are saying about me? About you? I crossed my arms. About you? Yes. About me? They're calling me brave. He scoffed, running a hand through his hair. You think freezing accounts and throwing tantrums makes you strong? You're ruining everything I built. I leaned against the doorframe, calm. Correction, everything we built. with my inheritance, with my years, with my silence while you played house with Harper. His face hardened. So this is about the money. I laughed, bitter and sharp. This is about respect. Something you can't buy no matter how many women you drape in stolen jewelry. He flinched at that but tried again. We can fix this. We'll spin it. I'll apologize. You'll stand by me? People will forget. Stand by you? I repeated, my voice cutting low. I'd rather burn it all than be your prop again. His jaw clenched, and for a moment, I saw the man behind the mask. Desperate, cornered, dangerous. He wanted to lash out, but he couldn't risk it here, not with Mia upstairs and neighbors who could hear every word. He settled for spitting out, "You'll regret this." I closed the door in his face. Inside, I exhaled slowly, steadying myself. My hands were trembling, but not from fear, from adrenaline. For once, I wasn't reacting. I was directing. That night, I tucked Mia into bed and watched her sleep, her small chest rising and falling. She didn't know the storm her father had unleashed, not yet, but I swore she never would. She would see strength, not tears. She would see a mother who refused to be broken. And Nathan? He'd just had his first taste of losing control. The man who prided himself on never being blindsided was stumbling in the dark, reaching for a rope I'd already cut. It was only the beginning. The restaurant was buzzing when I walked in. Low lighting, polished wood floors, and the clinking of glasses that always meant Memphis power players were sealing deals. Nathan thought he had the upper hand by choosing this place. He was hosting a dinner with investors, parading Harper like she was his prize. But I wasn't there to eat. I was there to end the performance. I spotted them easily. Nathan, smooth as ever, wearing his tailored suit like armor. Harper beside him, laughing too loudly, her hand brushing his arm every chance she got. Around the table sat 4 investors and their wives, people who'd once toasted my loyalty and sacrifices. Now they smiled at Harper like she'd always belonged. I walked in, head high, every eye snapping toward me. Nathan's smile faltered. Harper's lips curled into that same smug grin she wore at the gala, the one that had haunted me in my sleep. "Isabella," Nathan said, rising halfway, his voice a practiced calm. "This isn't the time." "Sit down." I cut him off, my voice sharper than the silverware glinting on the table. "You've done enough talking. Tonight, I get the floor." A hush fell over the table. No one dared move. I turned my gaze on Harper. "Tell me, Harper, does your husband know where you are tonight?" Her smile flickered. Just for a second, but enough. One of the investors' wives shifted uncomfortably. Nathan's eyes darted between us. "Don't," he muttered under his breath. But it was already too late. "Funny thing," I continued, loud enough for the whole table to hear. "Your husband's colleagues at St. Jude still think you're happily married. I wonder what Dr. Mitchell would say if he saw you sitting here, wearing stolen jewelry, on the arm of a man who can't even keep his own house intact." Gasps rippled. Harper's face drained of color. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Don't I?" I gestured toward the entrance. Every head turned, and there he was, Dr. Mitchell himself. Crisp white shirt, coat slung over his arm, his expression a mix of fury and heartbreak. He'd agreed to meet me here after I showed him the evidence, the photos, the receipts. Proof that Harper wasn't just cheating, she was flaunting it. The silence was suffocating as he walked toward the table. Harper's breath hitched audibly, her hands trembling as she tried to hide them in her lap. "Harper," his voice cut through the room, low and steady. "How long did you think you could play me for a fool?" Her chair screeched back as she stood, stammering. It's not what it looks like." "Oh, it's exactly what it looks like," I snapped, stepping forward. "You've been parading around this city like the queen of someone else's empire. And you were arrogant enough to do it in front of me, wearing my mother's necklace. But you forgot one thing. You weren't just betraying me. You were betraying him." Dr. Mitchell's jaw clenched. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket and dropped it on the table. It landed with a dull thud. "That's your wedding ring. You can pawn that too, since you seem to like living off other people's husbands. The table erupted. Investors whispering, wives staring in horror, servers frozen mid-step. Harper collapsed into her chair, face pale, eyes darting like a trapped animal. Nathan tried to salvage it, raising his hands. This isn't the place for drama. No, Nathan. I cut him off, my voice rising. This is exactly the place. Because you wanted to humiliate me in public. You wanted to flaunt her in front of everyone we know. Well, now the truth's out in public, too. I leaned forward, letting every syllable land. Your mistress isn't some prize. She's a liar, a cheater, and a wife who just got disowned by her husband. And you? You're nothing more than her accomplice. Phones were out again. Screens glowed, recording, posting. I could already imagine the captions, CEO and mistress exposed at dinner. Wife drags in mistress's husband. It was going to spread like wildfire. Nathan's face flushed crimson. Harper buried hers in her hands. Dr. Mitchell turned and walked out without another word, his silence louder than any scream. I straightened, smoothed the skirt of my dress, and looked directly at the investors. Do business with him if you want. But remember what kind of man you're tying yourselves to. Then I turned on my heel and walked out, my heart pounding, adrenaline flooding my veins. Behind me, the room erupted. Voices rising, chairs scraping, reputations crumbling in real time. On the sidewalk outside, I inhaled deeply, the night air cold against my skin. For the first time in months, I felt taller, lighter. Nathan thought he could script the story, paint me as the bitter wife while he played the charming victim. But now, the city had seen the truth, and this was only the second act. Nathan didn't vanish quietly after the restaurant scene. If anything, humiliation made him louder. By the following week, his PR machine was in overdrive. He sat down for a glossy magazine interview, all crocodile tears and carefully staged vulnerability. The headline screamed, CEO speaks out, betrayed by wife, hunted by lies. He painted himself as the hard-working visionary, blindsided by a vindictive spouse. I made mistakes, he admitted with a practiced sigh. But Isabella has exaggerated, twisted things. I still love my family. I hope she remembers that. He didn't mention Harper by name. He didn't need to. The world already knew. But he framed her as an innocent colleague who got caught up in the storm. Watching it made me sick. Not because of the lies, I expected those, but because I could see how people might believe him. He looked the part. Tailored suit, weary eyes, hand clasped as if he were praying for forgiveness. I knew him well enough to recognize the performance, but strangers? They might eat it up. And for a moment, I worried. What if he spun this so hard people started looking at me as the bitter wife trying to destroy a successful man? That fear lasted exactly 12 hours. Because then the leaks began. Screenshots, emails, hotel receipts. All of it. Proof Nathan hadn't just had an affair, he'd funded it with company money. Harper's spa visits billed to business expenses. Weekend getaways labeled as networking trips. Late-night texts that weren't just flirtation, but confirmation of theft. Use the card ending in 4211, baby. She won't notice. The first leak hit Twitter on a Tuesday morning. By lunchtime, it was everywhere. Instagram reels, TikTok stitches, even LinkedIn posts dissecting how unethical it was for a CEO to funnel company funds into his mistress. The hashtag #CharNecklaceGate started trending by evening. Screenshots of Harper flaunting my mother's necklace at the gala were side by side with the receipts. Memes spread. Nathan's smug face photoshopped onto Monopoly cards that read, "Go directly to divorce court." I didn't have to lift a finger. Friends of mine, quiet supporters who'd stayed back until now, amplified the evidence. Journalists dug deeper. Former employees came forward anonymously about shady deals and after-hours meetings with Harper. Nathan's empire wasn't just cracking, it was collapsing in real time. His response? He went live. A shaky Instagram video from his office, shirt sleeves rolled up, eyes red. He tried to play the victim again. These so-called leaks are fake, fabricated, a smear campaign against me and my company. My wife, he caught himself, corrected. My estranged wife has gone too far. The comment section didn't buy it. Screenshots don't look fake. You stole your wife's mom's necklace, bro. Sit down. Where's Harper? Haven't seen her since her husband dumped her at that restaurant. By the end of the live stream, more people were laughing at him than sympathizing. Clips of him stuttering through questions went viral. One in particular, him insisting, "I've always respected women," got remixed with a montage of Harper draped in his lap. The internet chewed him up and spat him out. Meanwhile, Harper vanished. No more flashy appearances, no social media posts. Rumor had it she moved into a hotel after Dr. Mitchell kicked her out. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Nathan called me that night, voice hoarse, desperation bleeding through the line. "Isabella, please, you have to stop this. We can fix it together. Just tell them it's lies." I laughed, sharp and humorless. "Fix it? You humiliated me. You stole from me. And you still think I'll stand beside you and prop up your lies? No, Nathan. You fix this yourself." He tried again, softer. "Think about Mia. She doesn't deserve to grow up with this circus." That pierced, but only for a second. Because Mia deserved truth, not a polished mask. She deserved a mother who stood her ground, not one who caved to manipulation. "I am thinking about her," I said, voice steady. "That's why I won't let you rewrite the story." I hung up. The next morning, another wave hit. Audio recordings this time. His voice, slurred from whiskey, bragging to a colleague about how easy it was to keep me in line. His exact words, "She's too loyal to leave. I could burn the house down and she'd still beg me to stay." That clip went viral faster than anything else. Hashtags multiplied. "Beg me to stay" trended for days, used by women everywhere to share their own stories of betrayal and survival. What Nathan meant as cruelty became a rallying cry against him. By the end of the week, sponsors started pulling out of his company. One investor released a statement distancing himself, citing ethical concerns. Articles speculated whether bankruptcy was inevitable. Nathan had wanted the spotlight. Now it was scorching him alive. And I didn't have to scream. I didn't have to beg. All I had to do was watch as the world saw him for who he really was. For years, he controlled the narrative, the image, the story of us. But now, the script was mine. And I wasn't finished yet. By the time the lawyers dragged us into court, Nathan looked nothing like the man I once married. His tailored suits hung looser, his smile stretched thin, and his eyes darted like he was waiting for someone else to attack. For years, he had been untouchable. The golden boy with the sharp jaw and sharper tongue. Now he looked like what he was. Cornered prey. My attorney, Marissa, was merciless. She laid everything out. The inheritance I poured into his startup, the paper trail of expenses funneled to Harper, the screenshots, the recordings. Every exhibit was another nail in the coffin of his credibility. Nathan tried to object, tried to bluster his way through the depositions, but even his lawyer looked exhausted defending him. When Marissa projected the hotel receipts on the screen, showing company funds used for his weekend trips with Harper, Nathan's face flushed crimson. When she read aloud his drunken recording, "She's too loyal to leave. I could burn the house down and she'd still beg me to stay." His head dropped into his hands. I sat stone still, not smug, not smiling, just steady. Because this wasn't about theatrics. This was about taking back everything he thought he could strip from me. The judge's ruling came swift. I was awarded majority custody of Mia, the house, and a substantial share of the company since my inheritance had funded its launch. Nathan fought it, of course. He argued I wasn't involved in the business. Marissa countered with documented proof of my financial contribution, my early advisory roles, and Nathan's own emails crediting me for helping land investors. When the gavel came down, the company was no longer his alone. The financial blow gutted him. Without control of the accounts, Without investor confidence, the empire he built on my sacrifices began to crumble. One by one, contracts dissolved, sponsors pulled out. His own board voted to strip him of decision-making authority. Nathan wasn't the visionary CEO anymore. He was a liability. And Harper? She was nowhere in sight. After the restaurant confrontation, after Dr. Mitchell's cold public rejection, she'd gone silent. Rumors swirled, divorce filings, property disputes, her name scrubbed from charity boards. She became radioactive, and Nathan was left standing alone in the fallout. The final cut came from his own family. His father, a man who once treated me with dismissive politeness, called me one evening. His voice was heavy, weary. "Isabella," he said, "I can't condone what my son has done. You'll have our support moving forward. Mia is still our granddaughter." It wasn't affection. It was acknowledgement. For years I'd been the outsider at their polished dinners, the woman tolerated because I kept Nathan steady. Now I was the one holding the legacy, and Nathan was the embarrassment they wanted to forget. His brother went further. A statement released through his company publicly distanced himself from Nathan. "We cannot, in good conscience, align with practices that violate both ethics and family trust." In business terms, it was a death sentence. Nathan's last safety net snapped. The house became mine officially within weeks. I walked through its hallways, box in hand, collecting the last remnants of Nathan's existence. His suits, his trophies, the photos he insisted stay up because they made us look like the perfect couple. One by one, they went into storage. The walls felt cleaner without him. Mia adjusted quicker than I expected. She asked fewer questions about her father, though I caught her watching me closely, as if studying how strength looked. I made sure she saw it. No tears on the kitchen floor, no begging phone calls. Just calm, clear boundaries. When Nathan came for his visitation weekends, I met him at the door, handed Mia her bag, and said nothing more than necessary. Each exchange chipped away at him. He tried jokes at first, then pleas. "Isabella, we don't have to keep fighting." I'd look him in the eye and remind him, "You started this war when you dragged me through the dirt. Don't ask me to clean you up now." He hated that he couldn't rattle me anymore. By the end of the summer, the life he'd built was gone. His company shares were liquidated. His apartment lease defaulted. He moved into a cramped rental on the edge of town, a far cry from the penthouse suites he used to show off. The same people who once clung to his charm now crossed the street to avoid being seen with him. One afternoon, I overheard two women at the grocery store whispering as Nathan walked past, unshaven, clutching a six-pack of cheap beer. "That's him, right? The one from Necklace Gate?" Their laughter followed him out the door. I didn't smile, but I didn't stop them either, because humiliation was exactly what he'd wanted for me. And now, it was his to live with every day. The irony was sharp. The man who once told me I'd be nothing without him was now nothing without me. His downfall wasn't an accident. It was the direct result of every choice he made. And though some part of me would always ache for the years I'd lost, the sacrifices I couldn't get back, I also knew this. He had taught me never to underestimate myself again. Nathan was broke, isolated, and forgotten. Harper was out of the picture. The legal war was over. The financial wreckage was complete. And the family that once turned a blind eye to his arrogance now kept their distance, ashamed to share his name. But my war wasn't just about dismantling him. It was about rebuilding me. And for the first time in over a decade, I had the chance to do it on my own terms. It was almost midnight when the knock came. Heavy. Relentless. The kind of knock that belonged to a man who no longer understood boundaries. I already knew who it was before I even opened the door. Nathan stood on my porch, rain dripping from his hair, jacket clutched in one fist like he'd sprinted here. His eyes were wild, his face gaunt. This wasn't the Nathan who once strutted through boardrooms. This was a man hollowed out by his own choices. "Isabella," he said, voice breaking. "Please, just hear me out." I crossed my arms, blocking the doorway. "You shouldn't be here." He dragged a hand through his hair, desperate. "I don't know where else to go. Everyone's turned their back on me. The company, the investors, even my family. Harper's gone. I've lost everything. I didn't move. You mean you've lost control? There's a difference. He flinched but pushed forward. I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you. But you can't let this be the end of me. We built a life together. You can't just walk away like it meant nothing. The audacity almost made me laugh. He was the one who handed our life to another woman. He was the one who paraded her in public, wearing my mother's necklace. And now he wanted me to prop him up because the world finally saw him for what he was. You didn't lose me because of one mistake, Nathan, I said slowly. You lost me because you treated me like I was disposable. Like my sacrifices, my loyalty, my love didn't matter. And now you're standing here because you finally know what it feels like to be disposable yourself. His voice cracked. I don't want to lose Mia. That hit harder, but I kept steady. You didn't think about Mia when you were sneaking out of hotels with Harper. You didn't think about her when you humiliated her mother in front of the whole city. You don't get to pull her name out now as your shield. He stepped closer, rain dripping onto the hardwood floor. I can change. Please, Isabella. Give me another chance. I'll do anything. I held his gaze, searching for even a flicker of the man I once believed in. But all I saw was desperation. Not love, not remorse. Just a man clinging to the last person willing to open the door. You think begging makes you different from the man who betrayed me? I asked softly. It doesn't. It just makes you pathetic. His shoulders slumped, his eyes filled with tears he didn't bother to hide. I can't do this without you. For a moment, the silence stretched between us, heavy with everything we once were. And then I said it. You're the architect of your own destruction, Nathan. Don't look at me to rebuild what you burned. The words landed like a final blow. His mouth opened, closed. He swallowed hard, but nothing came out. I stepped back, hand on the door. Go home, wherever that is for you now, because it's not here. And then I shut the door. Through the glass, I saw him standing there for a long time, rain soaking him until he looked smaller, diminished. Eventually, he turned and walked into the night. No more pounding, no more pleading, just silence. I leaned against the door, exhaling slowly. My hands didn't shake this time. My heart didn't race. The war was over, and I had won. 6 months later, the house felt different. Lighter. For years, it had been filled with Nathan's shadow. His voice on late-night calls, his cologne lingering in the hallway, his presence dominating every decision. Now, when I walked through the rooms, I felt only peace. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was mine. Mia had blossomed in ways I hadn't realized were possible. She laughed more freely, slept without the nightmares that once woke her. At 8 years old, she didn't know every detail, but she knew enough. Her father had made choices that hurt us both, and her mother chose to protect her. She saw me stand tall when it would have been easier to crumble, and I could already tell that strength was shaping her. I rebuilt my career too. The same skills I once used to polish Nathan's image, I now used for myself. PR consulting, brand strategy, work that had always been mine before I gave it up for his dreams. Clients came quickly, referrals even faster. People respected resilience, and my story carried weight. In Memphis, word traveled, and soon my schedule was full. I wasn't surviving anymore. I was thriving. Every so often, I caught whispers of Nathan. Someone spotted him at a rundown bar. Someone else mentioned he was crashing on a friend's couch. His name surfaced less and less, fading from relevance. The empire he once bragged about was gone. The mistress who thought she'd replaced me was gone. And Nathan himself was little more than a cautionary tale. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. His downfall wasn't my prize. My prize was the freedom to live without him. One evening, as Mia and I sat on the porch watching fireflies, she leaned against me and said, "Mommy, you're really strong." I smiled, pressing a kiss to her hair. "You are too, baby. Stronger than you know." That moment mattered more than any courtroom victory, more than any financial settlement. Because strength wasn't just what I had claimed for myself. It was what I was passing down to her. The city eventually forgot the details. The hashtags died down. The gossip shifted to the next scandal. But I never forgot. Not the betrayal, not the humiliation, and not the way I rose from it. Some nights, when the house was quiet, I thought about the necklace, the heirloom that started it all. It sat safely in my drawer again, back where it belonged. For a while, I couldn't bear to look at it. Now, I saw it differently. Not as a reminder of loss, but as a symbol of endurance. My mother's strength had carried me through, even when I thought I'd break. And I carried that strength forward. Nathan never got back what he lost. Not the company, not the money, not the family. Last I heard, he was working odd jobs, bouncing from couch to couch, still blaming everyone but himself. I didn't hate him anymore. Hatred gave him too much power. He was irrelevant. Freedom wasn't the absence of pain. It was the choice to stop living in it. When I looked at my reflection now, I didn't see the broken woman from the gala, standing frozen as another woman flaunted my mother's necklace. I saw someone sharper, steadier, unafraid. I saw a woman who had walked through fire and come out unburned. Betrayal had nearly destroyed me. Instead, it transformed me. And in that transformation, I found everything I thought I had lost: myself, my future, my peace. Thank you for watching my story. If it struck a chord with you, click that hype button to keep the energy going, and let me know your thoughts or even your own experiences down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Your voice matters here. And don't forget to hit subscribe and tap the like button so you never miss another story like this one. Every click, every comment, every bit of support helps this channel grow, and together we can keep bringing these powerful stories to life.